Oh, Connor, what do you got?
Oh, Mike.
Howdy.
Yes, I have some. Well, I assume you've heard it. I assume you've heard the news.
I have not heard the news. I've been holed up here in wintry Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah, well, it must travel slowly up there. The pipes are frozen, etc. I'll just read you the headline. Movie rights to 50 Shades of Grey authors The Mister land at Universal. Exclusive from Variety.
Boy.
Yeah. Rights for the book, which recently hit the market, sparked a heated bidding war. James, who produced every film in the 50 Shades trilogy, returns to produce this adaptation, which tells the story of a wealthy British aristocrat who falls in love with his Albanian housekeeper, unaware that she was on the run from the human traffickers. The Mister was on the New York Times bestseller list for 9 weeks and has sold in 33 territories/languages internationally.
Good Lord.
No mention of our discussion of it, but we have that to look forward to.
Technical advisors? Is there any way we could get
right, exactly.
Get a foot in the door?
I assume the king already has that role locked up. But yeah, it's sparking heated interest amongst our listeners, notably who is going to play Blariana.
Has there been speculation? That was, of course, my first question. What's out there already? What are the whispers, the hints?
Well, here's what I think. Obviously it's not the main role, but I think she's got to cast her role for the Oscar bait at some point in time, and this could be one of those. You know how like Anthony Hopkins famously was like in Silence of the Lambs for just 15 minutes. Judi Dench was in Shakespeare in Love for like less than 8 or something. This could be Emma Watson's chance to, maybe one flashback scene, under 3 minutes, but, a searing, bucket use scene could finally, vault her out of the, kid actor stage of her career and into the big time.
Hear me out on this one. A little bit left field.
Okay.
But provocative and also, again, a chance to maybe save a life and a career. Amanda Bynes.
Wow. You can imagine the standing ovation. She's done the speech a couple times on the award circuit, but everyone in the audience is acting like she's heard it for the first time type of thing.
Right. Redemption. I'm just hoping for redemption for her.
Or they capture her on stage with the, running around topless with the bucket on her head. So
right. Either way, we win.
So yeah, we have that to look forward to. There's obviously no date for it, but it doesn't seem like one of those movies they're going to spend a lot of time on,
It is amazing. Again, we did it knowing it was a bestseller, but that doesn't really, it never really makes an impression on me when we're reading it. Like, it's just a terrible, terrible book. And then you rattle off these things like it's a bestseller in 33 territories.
Right.
That sort of brings it home. Like, really? No, it can't be. But of course it is. Of course.
Well, yeah. And it's most likely due to the, just the, of course it's going to be, just like John Grisham's book, of course, is going to be. But, you wonder if the legs are going to be there for whatever the Mr. 2 or whatever the hell comes next from her.
Yeah, you can live your whole life having never picked up any copy in any form or any sequel of Who Moved My Cheese, and yet there are $800 billion being made off of it, and you can completely avoid those things.
Right. It turns out the person who moved the cheese was the anthropomorphic vacuum cleaner, so that was that's how that ties in. So if we're still alive and kicking by the time that movie comes out, hopefully we'll have a chance to review it. That'll be fun. But
we're 5 minutes in without saying who we are, and so
right.
We've done a really good job.
If you've made it this far, you probably know. But I'm Connor Lastowka. I'm talking to Mike Nelson. This is 372 pages. We'll never get back, where we discuss books that we're probably not going to like. And of course, we have discussed The Mister. We have discussed Shadow Moon, and we are currently discussing Moon People by Dale M. Courtney. Moon People, Volume 1, The Age of Aquarius, I guess is the full name, but. It's lit up the phones unlike any other book we've ever done, I feel.
Yeah, you said more letters pouring in, cards and letters.
Just pouring in the amount of dumb sentences, the amount of email theories, the amount of just utter nonsense people are sharing is off the charts. So we've got a excited audience, and one of those emails that came in is from a listener named Jens, who did some deep dive into our author, and says, today I discovered Dale M. Courtney's Facebook page. A treasure trove of ramblings that make Moon people seem coherent and well written by comparison. Goes to show that Dale puts more effort into his books than he does his casual writings. It also gives great insight into the mind of the man and how he thinks about the world. I was sharing some choice experts with the 372 Discord today, and my fellow enthusiasts suggested I turn my discoveries into a game for Connor to quiz Mike on what Dale's likes and dislikes are. We're going to call this game Dale or No Dale.
This sounds great. I just want to step back and say, wait, he puts more effort into his books than he does the ramblings on his Facebook page?
Well,
how can they differ in any way?
I guess we're going to find out. And, published word, that's different than, you would treat a tweet, if, for example, or maybe... Yeah. We'll get to it. The sentences, all right. So this is going to be sort of like our Amazon review guessing game, but it's just a positive or negative. Does this person, does Dale like or dislike this thing? Is he for or against sharks?
I think he thinks they're misunderstood creatures, and we need to tread carefully. They're majestic, and they've been here since the Cambrian explosion or whatever, and so he's pro shark.
Okay. I would like to clear something up about sharks by using simple reasoning. There are those who think that saving sharks from extinction by protecting them is wise. It is not, because they are nowhere close to extinction. Just fall in the water in the middle of the ocean and find out for yourself. Let's save all the good fish so they can live into the millions. If you protect all sharks, soon you will have an ocean full of sharks and very little eatable fish.
Okay.
so yeah.
All right. Well, that's given me a data point to go on. All right.
Strong out of the gate. Number 2, is he for or against Taylor Swift?
Oh, I think, bless her heart. She doesn't have much of a voice, but her heart's in the right place. And she started so young. She's had a tough path, and may God bless her and her family.
All right. Well, I think you have surmised what his feelings are, but he has just posted the music video for her song "Ready for It," accompanied only by the caption "Cool."
Okay.
So I think he's probably on the same wavelength.
So Taylor Swift, cool.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go. This sounds vaguely familiar, based on our other author of his caliber, DDT. Is Dale for or against nude ladies over 20 years his junior?
Well, I would say I can't put the pieces together, but yes.
Okay.
I don't know how it fits into his worldview. I'm having trouble making that.
It is very difficult. Dale loves nude young ladies so much he will post their nudes right on his Facebook page with captions such as "Thanks for the photo" or "Very pretty."
What?
I don't know how that's...
Where is it? Like, what kind?
I didn't look myself, and Jens did not include any. Thank you very much, Jens. But I assume that violates Facebook's TOS. I don't know. Is Dale for or against predicting the weather?
As a man of science, of course he is. He's completely pro weather. It saves lives.
Against, you would think, but I do not see how they can get an average from weather, because weather is random and unpredictable. In other words, it's never the same. If everyone has bad weather and you have great weather, thank God. That is that's delving into Manifesto Shack territory, which I guess you could say the book does as well. So,
wow. Okay.
Let's just do. There's a lot of these.
He is a wonderful puzzle. He really is.
He is. Let's do. Let's do 2 more. Is Dale for or against Gore Verbinski's 2013 film adaptation of The Lone Ranger?
Oh, does he have a hot take on this? No, he's against it. He was a fan as a kid, and this was a violation of everything the character stood for.
You are having a lot of trouble wrapping your head around this guy. He is for. In May of 2013, Dale made multiple posts praising and promoting the Lone Ranger. Choice quotes, "I.O. Silver, O.H., the Lone Ranger rides again," and "looks like Big Trouble, Kemosabe, Kemosaby.
Sure.
So, we'll end with this one. Is Dale for or against Native Americans?
Oh dear. I'd say he's strongly pro.
He is for. Yes. It's anyone who knows history and all the facts knows it was only certain tribes that did the evil things to each other. There were many tribes that were nonviolent and peaceful, and it was the English that started the scalping of the heads, and then others followed. He goes into details about bounties on that. He says it was General Custard that did the genocide on the Native Americans after they were given the land by Congress. Many believe it was Lincoln that ordered the genocide to take the land back after oil was discovered on the land. So,
Dale, stop typing on your Facebook page and do this national security consulting, can you?
Exactly.
Yes, Custard. Okay, I'm all yours.
Right. So yeah, that was Jens's research. We'll post maybe we'll post the other. I guess he's posted them in the Discord already, but he has a few more of those. Maybe I'll post them on Patreon. But as we have said before, leave the guy alone. But his Facebook page is public, so. That's an interesting window into the madness that has got us where we are today, discussing moon people for several hours on a podcast.
So you're out on a scuba dive. You're meeting your scuba dive partner. He is going to save your life as you do this rocky thing, and you've got, there's the boat ride out there. You've got a good hour to talk, and
right.
Dale's your man, and
It starts off
telling you how he doesn't like weather predictions. Right. And anyway, let's get in that water, and you're a lifesaver, partner.
Yeah, you're strapping the mask on, your flippers are already dangling in the water, and you say, I hope we see some sharks in there today, and you just Paul falls over his face.
Suddenly you pull a hamstring, and you're I'll just sit this one out, guys.
So yeah, there's our author, but let's launch back into the to the book, because we have a lot to talk about, as I said, and we've got to delve into where we left our hero, because the first chapter is pretty incredible.
It is just amazing, and the name attribution goes just utterly bananas right off the bat. Right.
We should say that we clarified last time, but the Kindle and paperback are extremely different. They do not use the parentheses name in the Kindle. There are some, said, Cheral, said, all these people. So, but the paperback is, as far as we're concerned, is the canon version.
Yeah, it is like, you have to do the major projects for when they were, trying to find Mozart's oeuvre. There was a famous, I believe his name is Cheral, would, dig through all the different manuscripts, and you would come up with the Cheral edition of Mozart. This is, we're sticking with the book as that is canon. So, although I read off the electronic thing, but I just go in and check, obviously, on the book. So
Mozart had you had the Requiem where Guido shot first type of thing. Is that that's the...
Yeah, there are different things, flying around. Like, Haydn would, Haydn would try to make money off the same thing twice. So there was a lot of different things. He'd sell it to somebody else.
Right. And there was multiple monks' screams, right? Or might have been other Mona Lisas or something. Multiple David statues. Yeah.
Yeah. So already he has been compared to
right.
Mozart.
Yes. Last time we had Vonnegut, I think Bukowski, and the guy who wrote Paradise Lost. So,
and of course Hemingway always comes up. So Dale, you're in good territory.
You've warped our brains. But yeah, so chapter 8 is called Saying Goodbye, and boy, how do they say goodbye? It's we could all hope that if we're ever shipped off somewhere, it goes as half as well as this guy's did as he's leaving town.
I think this came up already, so I hope this is not spoiler alert, but Cheral is his wife's name.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, it's at the back of the book. I went to the back to read to see if he expounded on the bio, and he did. And so his wife's name is Cheral, spelled that way.
And I guess David is a lateral move from Dale, but then there are multiple other characters on the ship named Courtney, whose last name is Courtney.
Right. But, so I don't know what he's up to here, but I don't know if Cheral read this before he self-published, but I just wanted to put that in that light as we dive into this.
Yeah, it takes on a new light with this other man, David Braymer, who's getting pretty lucky towards the end of his run on Earth.
Yes.
Anyway, so this chapter starts thusly. It says, then David said, by Monday Halloween night, I will be sleeping on the base station. Cheral says, man, that is quick. And it sounded familiar, so I looked back at how the last chapter ended. I don't know if you recall, but it said, he says, we launch Monday morning on Halloween at 0900. And Cheral said, wow, that is quick. So she's sort of trapped in a loop of remarking how quickly this is going.
Jeez. You get serving those 222s, and you just the symmetry of those get a loop going in your mind that's hard to get out of.
Right. It's like when a waitress in a southern waitress is like, you're looking mighty cute today, hon. And then you hear her say the exact same thing to the next table.
Right. Yeah. When I was at the Guthrie Theater here in Minneapolis years ago, and we did Shakespeare. You're just doing it several shows per day, and there were times where I was standing on stage going, "What scene is this? What happens next?" So yeah, she's just in that. She's in that loop. Where am I? What did I say that already? Did I say that was quick? Maybe I did. I don't know.
So Shakespearean acting, we can add to the list as well.
Please, the list is growing.
And then she has a good comparison. She says, "You're going to be like Spock, SPOK, on Star Trek." Yeah. Wasn't he the first science officer too? David smiled and said, "Yes, he was. I never thought of it like that before."
And I could not read it as Spock. I refused to read it, so spoke, of course. That was in my mind. Hey, you're going to be like Spock on Star Trek.
And so, but she's, just sort of like wrapping her head around all this, obviously processing it. And she says, wait, I'm going to get to know you, and then you're going to be out of my life. But fortunately, David has some reassurance. He says, you can call me anytime you want on my cell phone. Oh, really? Yeah, and I'll tell you of all the latest news. It will be great. All right, that does sound cool. So it's good. I mean, obviously, it's the future. It is 2048, I think. So my cell phone stops getting reception 10 miles out of town in Vermont, but he's going to be just fine on the moon, I guess, with whatever service Verizon is now offering, 8G or whatever.
Well, when he hasn't even gotten his, what do you call it, his startup papers or whatever?
Right, no.
There are no cell phones, obviously, moron. Base on the moon.
And as we learn, as we get to the moon base, they are still ironing out some pretty serious kinks.
Yeah, that is astonishing. Yeah, but yeah, don't want to spoil that.
Yeah. So, I mean, after that, he heads to school and sort of checks in with the faculty, who he informs is leaving, and then he goes to his classroom where he gets some more of the patented DMC simul-talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you're on Patreon, you heard that we unearthed a recreation of that.
Yeah.
So.
It made a bit more sense after that.
Yeah, yeah. A little weird that both Cheral and Billy don't know how to spell or pronounce Spock.
Right. Or that they've, both maintained it as a reference. I guess they've probably rebooted the series a couple more times by 2048, so I guess it could be still going strong.
True. I guess it's like Avatar, where, we're not in Kansas anymore. It's good to hear that that's still a classic. Way, way, way into the future. So, yeah, it's just like that. And jujubes were another thing.
Oh, my God.
They're going to eat your eyes like jujubes, like that popular candy of 1936.
People always, there's sort of a popular meme where like Avatar's I guess now the second biggest movie of all time, but no one can remember a single character or moment or scene from it. And we are somehow the exception to that rule, because we are, I think, talking about it's only really that main guy, the old crusty guy, because he's the guy that says all those things and then does the robot knife fight at the end.
Yeah, robot knife fight. Oh, yes. But we're not going to rewatch that movie ever again. Please tell me we're not.
God, no. So yeah, they do the simul-talk, and then this struck me as very interesting. Billy asks the teacher, "Where are you going, Doc?" Like, is this the first time he was called Doc? Have we been told that he's has achieved a PhD or something like that in astronomy?
Oh, I missed that. I just thought it was a quirk of Billy, a kid, again, from the 30s or something.
Sure.
Give it to me straight, Doc. Come on.
But yeah, he says, you're going to be like Spock on Star Trek. And David replies, yeah, that's what everyone's saying. So, I issued my settle down to him because one person has said that to him.
And then he's going to, he donates that he's going to call his class frequently, he promises, and he's going to donate Zeus to them.
Right.
So this was his personal, the whole equipment was his personal stuff, and he was just using it in school?
I guess so. You always hear about, teachers with their laments of having to buy their own supplies because of the budget, and I guess he's in a position where he's donating a presumably $20,000 telescope.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe since it was like not, it was only 94% accurate upon booting it up, he might have just thought that wasn't worth his time.
I guess so. Yeah, he's going to have one up there. So what are you going to do? You're just like, yeah, fine. I'll leave my stereo here because I'm going to work in a studio, music studio. So, so that was a great scene. He says goodbye to the class. The spooky stuff happens, and Kathy says goodbye, and then he just leaves, and he picks up Cheral, and they go to Red Lobster. I just thought that was really, really a good use of 1.5 pages.
Yes, yeah, it wasn't exactly stand and deliver or something like that. No. It was.
There was no the students standing on their desk as the music swelled. Captain, my captain.
Right. He just said, he told David, David said he wants to go with him. And he says, I don't know if they need anyone else, but if you study hard, you never know. So yeah, exactly. There wasn't, he wasn't tipping his cap or doing the Breakfast Club fist punch as he walks out the door. Let's get into it. Well, but so the Red Lobster has been teased quite a bit, and it ends up just sort of getting a yada yada yada.
Yeah,
he picked up Cheral and went to Red Lobster and had a great meal, and then they went to the beach and parked.
Yeah, that is very disappointing.
Some
insight into what he would have ordered at Red Lobster would have been fantastic.
Yeah, because it might have been insane. He might have gone there and gotten a cheeseburger or something.
He also, if the waitress or waiter there had said, "Oh, hey, Doc, the regular,"
right? Yes,
of course,
a new lady, Doc. Yeah. Or was the waiter nervous about Halloween coming? We are not given any information about that.
Right. Yeah. No. If he had. Ordered off menu like the kids' corn dog and crinkle fries, it would have been the greatest moment of our lives.
Right. But yeah, so the parking is again, a 1930s term, and because we quickly learned that it is in that sense. They didn't just park and, turn on the radio or something. They parked. But so it says that David looked at Cheral with a serious look on his face and leaned into Cheral, and Cheral leaned in, and they kissed intently. Cheral, wow, what was that? David, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. So I'm not really sure with that, but it's about on par with the eroticism of the Mister, I'd say.
Yeah. Although the childish speaking during it is a little more disturbing. Not that it was very sophisticated between those two, but and then very disturbing when you remember our famous MST2Get website. Our favorite.
Yeah. Well, explain that because I think I've referenced it maybe without explaining what the joke was.
Oh, it was just some of the people from Mystery Science, as our one side project, did a humor website for a short period of time, and the story went around on the AP wire. But one of the headlines in one of the papers, which the headlines are written after, was MST to get website, which was inaccurate in ways that are almost indescribable.
You just stood in the website brand line, and they issued you one.
Handed this entity called MST a website. It had nothing to do with MST. It didn't. So anyway, that's what that's referencing. But Cheral got a big, sexy smile on her face. So it was how does that happen?
She reached into her bag and pulled one out. I'm not sure.
So it was sort of it happened passively. She didn't do it. She didn't smile. There's no verb there. She got it. So I don't know.
Yeah. And now knowing that is his actual wife's name makes that seem even more disconcerting, because just imagining the one photo we've seen of the guy looking at his wife smiling sexily at him is very disconcerting.
And then I appreciated this. This is the slam bang final sentence of chapter 8. She leaned in and they kissed passionately for about a minute and then stopped. So if they hadn't stopped, I don't know. That's, right. They kissed passionately for about a minute, but then they, their faces did not disconnect. They just stopped kissing.
Or like that fear you had in 5th grade where you always heard about braces locking. That could have been what happened. Yeah.
So that's the chapter end. Woohoo.
Yeah. Hearing the words passionately, but then about a minute is about as jarring a 180 as you can imagine.
But it continues something in all of these books, the weird, unnecessary periods of time stated so flatly. It is, why insane. Is that a thing?
So what was it, Tech War that sort of pioneered that, where saying like he looked at her for, exactly 2 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, that one was more precise, but still. People making out, like, I don't need to know the exact, unless it's shocking, like for an hour and a half or something. And
sure.
It's notable.
Yeah, but we get some more of that later too. We get some more. I'll bring it up when we get to it. But it is it's not just the first time he's going to be doing this.
No.
But so the passion continues in chapter 9, the shuttle launch, and that is sort of very much burying the lead with what the main takeaway from this chapter is all about.
and the shuttle launch, is not. I don't think he's doing a euphemism there or anything.
Oh my God! So we'll get to that, but there is some clip art in this in the print and I think Kindle book that is. We'll debate it when we get to it.
Yeah.
So he was saying they were both secretly thinking about what had been missing in their lives. Then David asked Cheral, "Would you like to come to my place and spend the night?" Cheral gave David a funny but sexy look. So I with a heavy heart, I think that we must have to do a photo imitation challenge of what that may look like. Right. We'll have to post that to Patreon. And then David says, "This is turning out to be the best night I've had in a very long time." Cheral said, "Me too," and they left the beach and went to David's house, and they made passionate love for a very long time. So he does us the courtesy of that's the only real description we get. There's no the Mr. Super details about that.
No, I mean, maybe that was the wife's red pen, and after just extremely detailed, right, 6 pages. Then Cheral went. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So at least that's over with. You may think, if you're reading this for the first time, but they then wake up staring at each other with a big smile on each other's faces. Again, I'm not sure how that exactly works. They've used the face swap app or something. And then he says, before, all I was going to just miss was my students, and now I'm going to miss being with you. I haven't been with someone like you in a very long time. I had so much fun with you last night, and making love to you was so beautiful. And I had flashbacks to, that's pretty much the first scene of The Room, is him. They get busy, and then he says to Lisa, like, did you enjoy last night? So it's he's hitting all the big check marks here.
Yes, and he says, I know before all I was going to just miss was my students, and no, I'm going to miss being with you. I haven't been with someone like you in a very long time. And you haven't been with someone who will do it with a science teacher all night because he brings her to Red Lobster? Shocking.
Yeah, that's a good thing. It says a lot about humanity.
Yes.
But then it turns out that Cheral is just insatiable, I guess. She must have, not been taking a Red Lobster in a while. So she gave him another sexy look and said, I don't have to be at the restaurant for a couple of hours. What do you say about going one more time around the world? Oh, So they're, I think they'd said that they're in their 50s, but she's using the slang terms that that the teenagers would maybe be using to describe something they've never done before.
Of course, yeah. I wonder, maybe the Red Lobster meal was omitted, but it was just lots of oysters and
sure.
Just what else is an aphrodisiac food? But I guess chocolate and oysters and
they just ordered off the horny menu.
Yeah, because man, oh man.
Yeah, so David says that sounds fantastic and leaned over and started kissing Cheral, and they made love again.
Then they made love some more and spent the day together.
Yes, she calls Marcia, who can fill in for her. And after they've made love, well, we're getting into ambiguous quantities here. They had a lot of fun and stayed Saturday night together, and they made love most of the night. So I don't know. It's someone might be able to assemble a timeline or a possibility of what's they're able to fit in here, but it definitely sounds like a kid at summer camp talking to his friends about what he did, or when he got back from summer camp, I guess, but his Canadian girlfriend, as they say.
Well, and then when the wife is reading this and saying, "Honey, please," our first time, you fumbled around in the back of our car for our Chevy Lumina for 6 minutes, and I went away disappointed.
Yes.
I paid half the check at Red Lobster too.
Right. Or whatever they've been doing recently. We've been married for 19 years. You fall asleep, with your hand scratching yourself watching Thursday Night Football as I'm trying to lure you into the bedroom. Get the hell out of here with this nonsense.
Oh, that is so bizarre. Can you imagine doing that, writing a book, writing this chapter, and having your wife's name?
And doesn't he say that he has 3 young girls too? He has 3 kids?
Yeah.
It's not grandpa no, it's, dad no at this point in time. It would be, I don't know. It's, I always think about that when authors are talking, just, even Stephen King writes, sex scenes that are just sort of ugh. But at least he knows he's earning millions of dollars from them, but it still is I can't imagine putting myself out there in any way like that. Yeah.
Wow. When they arrived at NASA, so they do all this, unless you have more of them. It's just
no. That's no. So I think there's 5 mentions in the making love, but some of them involve most of the night. So our counter is I think at a minimum 5.
And this was one that I wished we'd had audio on. They kissed passionately for about 5 minutes, and Cheral started crying and said, "I'm going to miss making love to you."
Yeah, this is when his wife is just I am going to the bar. I'm going to the Bahamas. I need to get my groove back.
I'd love to think that he, in front of her, erased all of this and then secretly published it later.
Right, yeah. He just he takes her red pen and just stets every inch of it. Yeah. But yes, then he started hugging Cheral and said, I'm really going to miss making love to you too, and most of all, being with you. And that is something you get the feeling he tacked on maybe at after his wife slammed the door and the tires screeched type of thing.
Right. But before we finish up with this, I'd just like to point out that during this whole section, and maybe I'm assuming coming up as well, people get sexy smiles or big smiles on their face. They also give them. So they give and they get and they have. So the states of smiles is very puzzling Schrodinger smile kind of thing. No,
what is the give?
He gave her a big sexy smile.
Oh my God.
He got one on his face. She gave one. So yeah, it's the state of smiling and how they are given or taken or made. Very puzzling.
And this was one that was like an 8 exclamation mark as I was taking notes. She says, "Oh, and one last thing. You take good care of myself. You take good care of yourself. "You're my rocket man."
Oh God.
So it's and "your" of course is spelled incorrectly. So it really just, you can imagine how big of a sexy smile that warranted.
Yes. Oh, she got a big one there. Yeah.
And then we get some more the ambiguity. He checks into Dr. Blues' office and took about 20 tests and was hooked up to a computer with electrodes all over him for about 3 hours. And I think that's just as hilarious as Tech Wars' exact time measurements. Just the about 20 and about 3.
Yes, that was a paragraph that look. As I said to you before we started this episode, the science is settled. He's a real man. He appears to not be touched in any way. He seems to be in his faculties. Mm-hmm. Yet, really, is this... Then Dr. Blues came and passed him on everything. He knew he was healthy, though he had just had a checkup. That is not an adult. His 4-year-old is sneaking in and bashing on the typewriter. I mean, It just can't be. It can't be. And yet it is. So
NASA, allowing someone to go into space for 10 years, he's going to say, "No, I just went to the doctor," and they'll be like, "Sign him off." He sounds good. But then this detail, he then went right to sleep that night because he was so tired from making love to Cheral all night. Did that turn up on, did the doctor say like, "What, your heart rate is kind of elevated and,
you are dissipated. Your fluids are low.
Yeah. You've lost 10 pounds.
I mean, I can tell you had some discount lobster. It's showing up on all of our tests. And
the doctor has to have, he has to be doing a full checkup. So he's got his pants off and he's poking around and noticing any chafing or like...
Turn your head and cough. Good Lord, what?
So that's, again, I hope we encounter Cheral again. And if we do, I hope that it's something just as ridiculous, because this would be... If this is how he leaves her, that's I guess it's good either way, actually.
Yes. The countdowns are a certain delight for me.
Oh my God, yeah. So
if you are unfamiliar with how countdowns work, he has got you covered here.
Do you want to read it? I think we covered it on FanFic last time, but it's worth a reread.
Then there was David looked over at Admiral Benson, and he looked as cool as a cucumber. Then he couldn't say a word the rest of the launch. I don't know what that means. Then there was liftoff. 10, 9, 8, 7,
sure,
6 follows it, and then 5, 4, 3,
what's coming next? Yeah.
2, 1, ignition, full thrust.
Not the only time that happens, correct?
Oh, it's even expanded upon in upcoming chapters. It's delightful.
And then they go up there. Captain Briggs says "Happy Halloween," and we get one of my contenders for dumb sentence. David looked out into space with an awe look of amazement. And I think that's where we get the in the print version, there is directly below it a picture of a shuttle launching, the classic NASA space shuttle with the giant billows of smoke behind it. That is a hilariously, the JPEG is stretched out of proportion, so it looks just awful. And it's, of course, across the page from all the Cheral banging. And like you've said, in any other book, you would think, oh, that's just, a hack joke, hack symbolism. Here, I don't know. I'm not positive.
It's not. It's unknowable. This does make he felt this was important enough that he made sure that it was in the E version as well.
Okay, yeah.
It's not quite a stretch, but it's comically small and sort of poked into the corner.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's just...
Yeah, so he didn't know how to use constrained proportions in the book, I guess, or just did it when he pasted it in. But yeah, the ebook is like a postage stamp. But
it's also, what does it have to do with anything, unless, like you say, it is the bad joke? But this is not. Is it supposed to look exactly like this?
I don't know.
This futuristic shuttle, that is.
It does make me curious, because just as I've been flipping through looking for fanfic, there is a picture later that's very much the Death Star.
Yes.
That's on page 58. Oh, no, I'm sorry. And I'm surprised he was able to afford what I assume is the hefty licensing fee for such an image, just because you would imagine that's IP that Disney guards pretty jealously. So
I would think so, yeah. And this photo is also IP. So yeah,
right.
And you'd assume I assume he dabbles in copyright law.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Among his many, yeah. You don't get to that level without knowing a little bit about it.
Well, we'll have to see. It would be a shame if that was something that came back to bite him. And then he says, also, as they were coming close to Lunar Base 1's docking bay, he noticed how vast space really looked and how beautiful it was. And that just doesn't seem necessarily like something that you would, notice seems like an odd word to use there. Like you're just sort of like, I don't know, reading the in-flight magazine and just you catch, you catch the view of like what looks like the scene of 2001 out the window, and then you sort of just notice that the space is vast.
Well, look at that. That's space. I've looked at it 1,000 times. I never noticed that it was vast.
He nudges the guy next to him and does the take off your earphones gesture and sort of points with his thumb out the window. Pretty vast, huh?
Space for him is like the FedEx logo and the arrow. You ever notice that?
Yeah, it's the dress. Once you see it, you can't. You'll never be able to see it the same way.
He has to, like the spinning ballerina, he has to kind of blink and look off to the side to make space small and insignificant again.
Or he does that, and one time it looks vast, and the other time it looks beautiful. Yeah.
That's chapter 9. That's all.
It's a man of science. Yeah. Chapter 10 is called Happy Halloween, which comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, this is Halloween.
How many times would you guess it shows up in the book? What's your guess? I Control F'd it.
Halloween. It's a short tome. I'm going to say 30 times.
Okay. Yeah, I would have assumed at least, double what it actually is, which is 13.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So to me, that means that it has absolutely no bearing on the final third of the book.
Yeah, but because each character brings it up. It's not him forcing it on others.
No, I mean, I think
saying, it's Halloween, and did you notice that? And then the people going, no, why would that be of any significance? No, everybody brings it up.
Everyone's concerned about it, yeah. But, so I assumed that was going to have some sort of payoff, but I think this might be the last one.
Incredible. Dive into chapter 10?
Yeah, let's do it. This, I think, is the first time that it changes perspective to first person for no apparent reason.
Yeah, well, that goes in and out, right?
Yeah, it does for the rest of it, I think. But yeah, he starts saying stuff like docking went smooth as butter. They made it look so easy. We had to wait about 30 minutes before we could unload off the shuttle.
Yeah.
so yeah.
Maybe we're missing something. He's a master of doing this. Maybe this is some technique. Pull us in and out of the action in ways that surprise us and give us fresh eyes on the situation. I'm not
benefit of the doubt.
I don't believe that for a second. I don't know if he's earned it.
Yeah, but I enjoyed that. The wait time of them having to unload is comparable or substantially less than many commercial airlines you fly these days, where it's like, folks, we've arrived early. This is a good thing. However, they do not have any air stairs available, so we are going to be waiting for an indefinite amount of time. Please sit down. Like, this is going to take at least an hour.
Well, my first sentence is, I just have a note that, like, it's so dumb it might not be fair.
We've crossed that line.
I guess so. But he's walking, getting the tour. As we walk, I will point out some of the general places like restaurants and shopping facilities where we have anything you would want or be able to get on Earth. I mean, I would just be, if I was talking to someone who said that, I would say, are you okay? Do we need to, let's sit down on this bench over here. I'll get some water and put a cloth on the back of your neck.
Right, yes. Because what's the Venn diagram of that, of wanting versus being able to get things?
I don't know.
But it's Lieutenant Courtney who's giving him that tour. It's a woman. But she keeps going, we have it all here. We are totally self-sufficient. We even have a huge greenhouse. We have one of the best observatories around. I go there quite often to think. We also have a few lounges on board where everyone gets together and has a lot of fun. So that's the tour, and then David's first response. Hey, do we have livestock on board too, or does everything come prepackaged? So that is his first question upon arriving in space, and it's not like what are we going to eat? Like how does the food work? Like I've noticed that there appears to be a lack of gravity in some parts of this ship. He's concerned about whether there's any cows there, and so this was something that I had to do some digging on. I went to the dark web, and there is actually a whole sort of theory about trucking through time, David's family tree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is sort of like a theory that it doesn't make him look good, but it does sort of explain that this is like almost a hereditary issue.
Oh, this kind of questioning, this kind of
yes, almost a type of questioning that sort of seems to come out of nowhere, seems wildly inappropriate when presented with sort of an extraordinary situation. You're focused on, sort of off-screen minutia, I would say.
Right.
So there's a whole like sub-community of historical reenactors, as we've seen before, but they sort of took the Braymer family tree and sort of like examined how they would have reacted in some other astonishing situations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. People out there doing good work.
They are. It's a lot of people online are doing stupid stuff, erotic Sonic fan art and that sort of things. But these people are focused on things to make the world a better place.
Wow. Well, should we cue it up?
Let's do it.
As we walk, I will point out some of the general places, restaurants, shopping facilities. We have it all here, sir. We are totally self-sufficient. We even have a huge greenhouse. We have one of the best observatories around. I go there quite often to think. We also have a few lounges on board where everyone gets together and has a lot of fun.
Do we have any livestock on board too, or does everything come prepackaged?
We don't have it. Is that really your first question?
Yes. Do you have livestock on your space station? Why is that a weird thing to want to know?
Because you just got here. You upended your life in the past 48 hours. You've ascended into the heavens, marveled at the earth from afar, gained a whole new perspective on the universe. And the first thing you want to know is whether there are cows in space?
Hey, pal. I'm a Braymer. We come from a long line of curious idiots.
The desert, outside of Egypt.
Moses Braymer.
Holy crap, a burning bush!
I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
Cool. Hey, God, does Ramses shave his head, or is he naturally bald?
What?
But it's not a big deal if you can't tell me.
Rome, Italy.
So, Pope Braymer, if you'll just step into the chapel, you can take a look at my latest masterwork.
Ah, amazing, a Michelangelo.
Yeah, it took years, but I'm pretty proud of it.
Hey, you ever paint a cat? Like, you taking a brush and put the paint on the cat?
What? Why would I do that?
Oh, I don't know. You're the artist, Dick.
The Matrix.
So, Neo Braymer, this is the real world. Your eyes are now open. The Matrix, what you called real, is merely a simulation.
Whoa.
I know. Kind of rocks you back on your heels, huh?
So, did someone in the Matrix have to program in the Cincinnati Bengals 1988 touchdown celebration, the Icky Shuffle?
The first ever press conference called by Banksy.
Hello, folks. I've decided that after years of anonymity, I'd give a press conference, but, since I'm quirky, I'll only be answering one question. And of course, wearing a mask, but maybe that will change if someone asks the right question. Yes, you in the front row.
Hi, Banksy, Chet Braymer, Washington Post. Have you ever painted a cat, like taken a brush and put the paint all up?
No, of course not. This press conference is over.
The trading floor on Wall Street.
Welcome to the floor, new blood. You see the car I drive, the models I bang.
It can all be yours if you pay attention and ask the right questions.
Hey, is that a real bell or is it a fake one? And they have someone who you can't see who rings a bell at the exact same time that the guest rings the fake one.
1 second, please. Hello, Jeff. Cancel the models.
The top floor of Scientology headquarters.
Welcome to our headquarters, Member Braymer. You finally ascended to the top rank of our organization. All our secrets are yours to behold. Member Cruz is here, of course. He's willing to answer everything as well.
Okay. Mystery flavor airheads, the ones that come in the white wrapper, what's their deal? What flavor?
Member Cruz, don't answer that.
Okay, well, same question, but for dumb lollipops.
The press conference after the world premiere of Lost in Translation.
Wow, what a movie, huh? So glad Sophia asked me to star alongside Scarlett. I assume you've all got questions. One big one in particular, perhaps?
Yes, Mr. Murray.
You there.
When you whispered to her at the end,
I knew it.
were you wondering what that was in Meatloaf's I'd Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That?
Okay, just for that, I'm making larger than life, too.
Comic-Con.
Mike, thanks for taking time out of your con to do this podcast interview. Really appreciate you trekking across town. This was the only hotel room I could afford.
Oh, no problem. Anything for a fan.
Okay, so when you're writing one of these Riff Tracks episodes, how many times do you guys have to watch the movies?
Heaven.
Welcome, Mr. Braymer. You've made it to the pearly gates. You now reap the benefits of a life well lived. All the happiness and knowledge you require are now yours.
Oh, thanks, God. Hey, say, did Avery Schreiber make it in?
The Doritos spokesman from the 70s? Why, sure. Wait, the hell am I doing?
Hey, what is that lever you're pulling? Do?
Tell your great-great-great-great-grandpa he can kiss Ramsey's naturally smooth butt.
So there you have it. They delved deep into some, I guess historical and fictional situations.
Once again, yeah, very clarifying when you realize the depth behind it, because it comes out of nowhere. But once you get the backstory, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you don't hold it against him.
Comes by it honestly.
I enjoyed that the dark web reenactors are sort of projecting annoyance onto us in that one situation, the Comic-Con interview. So that was very interesting to.
But right after the explanation for that, this is I just said this is a radical and powerful visionary view of the future. No, sir, we're going to have livestock, but we realized we really don't need livestock. For instance, we use powdered milks, powdered eggs. Some people have pets, and we have one private that has a couple of chickens for real eggs, but you have to have special permission, though. So I just, once again, 2001: A Space Odyssey. This vision is permits for chickens and powdered milk and powdered eggs, except for one couple. So.
It is a truly, you could probably do an entire book on that situation, and I would read it. It's like submitting the paperwork, initially getting rejected and filing an appeal up the ladder. What makes him so determined to have these chickens in the first place?
His first initial rejection, and then a passionate speech at the meeting.
The slow clap that follows. That or the sneaking the chicken on board contraband beforehand, and then waiting to hopefully get it approved.
Yeah. But this whole tour, it put me in mind of, for a short time, I worked for temp agencies. And, when your first day at a temp agency and you get the walkthrough, and sometimes the over-explaining is just insane. Over here is our vending machine. Here are some items on top that are sort of the crunchy snacks. We can quickly move past this.
Right.
But here's what she says. If you notice, we have everything categorized with the alphabet. like each of the sections on board are A through Z. We also use numerical order. Your quarters are in D section room 106.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the really drilling down on how
That is truly insane. It's your quarters are in D. So what is that next to section R? No, sir. We actually use a alphabetical method of organizing things. And
you don't go by the president's wives' names?
Ooh, yeah. Taft's wife Cheral. There was some deeply erotic stuff in the 1800s about.
But yeah, walkthroughs also a thing. Remember the walkthrough from
Ready Player One, right?
Yeah, Ready Player One.
It took him down the hall of the Sucksore's headquarters.
Yeah, 2 minutes in the chat room, walking down the hall.
Chat room, chat link. I don't recall.
Chat link, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
But I like this. I like this description. This is a good. Just really shows that they put a lot of thought into it. Just like any other apartment on Earth, some are very elaborate. Yours is like medium to elaborate. It's like you get the sense they might not be baking fresh cookies when they're showing these places to people. Yes.
This was one of my 40 or so dumb sentences of the week.
There was an abundance of them. One of the next ones is it was one of my contenders as well. When he first gets into his apartment, David noticed how nice his place was and said, "Very nice. This is nicer than my house on Earth." It is. It's that sort of thing that is just like, I couldn't make it up. I honestly don't think if we were trying, we could do something like that.
But his or her response to that, then the lieutenant said, all of the plumbing is the same on Earth, except there are little water pumps in the system to help it along. The waste all goes to an area where the water is separated from the waste, and the waste is dried, and then the waste is taken to the greenhouse to be used as fertilizer. We do add a lot of things to the waste. So I just said this place was pretty nice.
Yeah, right. And now you're focusing 100% on feces.
Yes.
And then, again, this is sort of like him asking if they have livestock on board. It's like, this is a detail to maybe, a year in, being like, by the way, like, what,
right.
What is happening to all this stuff? Like, no one would be concerned about that in the first place. But this is a top on her list of things to discuss.
What do you think is going on in author's mind about on Earth there are little water pumps in the system to help it along? What
that's what they say.
Detail is lodged in his brain that he needed to get that out on paper?
That's what they say. Except, right?
That's what they
change.
Yeah,
right.
So on Earth we don't use little pumps in the system. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I would hope it's not just like a aqueduct gravity-powered system at this day and age.
I mean, I understand water towers, but I'm pretty sure, I've always had a pump in our systems. Anyway.
Well, it's just part of the world building, Mike, and I think you get no better world building than her forthcoming discussion about the gravity on the on the lunar base, on all three of the lunar bases. Truly incredible. Let's just read some of this. Some places, you'll notice, have more gravity than others. We have a lot of areas that have no gravity that we can't help. And so this, if you've got a guy approving permits for chickens, maybe that guy's salary could have been devoted towards someone to fix the problem of not having gravity in some places on your lunar base. Yes. I don't know how it works, and I'm not the man to solve it, but it just seems like that's wildly unsafe.
I would think so, because things like this happen. The gravity thing has got its pros and cons. You'd think it would mostly be cons.
Mostly be cons, yeah.
Sometimes, for instance, you'll be sleeping and you will wake up floating over your bed. Pro or con, I'm not sure. For a second or two, and then fall back on the bed. We've had a few minor injuries already, but nothing serious yet, because everyone is usually asleep on their beds when it happens. I just put that as the dumb sentences of the century.
Yeah.
What are you spending time saying? What is this madness?
So she's saying sometimes it'll occur in the 5 minutes where you're actually falling asleep. But most of the time it occurs when you're in bed asleep.
But injuries, so if you're awake, injuries would occur, but the injuries aren't serious because everyone is usually asleep on their bed when it happens.
you read about how, prisoners are woken up by them playing, like Metallica every hour or strobe lights. And this is pretty much what that sounds like, a torture technique.
So strange.
So that's a con. But sometimes, some places you'll notice have more. Oh, sorry. In some areas on the ship, you'll see the gravity is about 1/2 of our normal gravity. And it's really fun because you're, Y-O-U-R, like Superman. 2 words, Superman. And so I just, in a normal situation, in a book written by a non-lunatic, you would have a guy being like, you didn't tell me this before I committed a decade of my life to living on this death trap? Like, fix it, fix this place, because no one mentioned this at all before I got up here.
Yeah, it is. Well, they didn't mention much of anything. I mean,
right. It is sort of
phone call to the school, and I'll meet you at the thing.
But she says, regarding the games, we are studying this, and we're just starting to design new games every day. Which, again, the priorities seem a touch out of whack. I guess it's sort of a, accentuate the positive. Like, let's play some games while we don't have gravity. But you would assume that people are going to die because of this at some point in time. So maybe instead of designing a new version of Kick the Can in 0G, you could just eliminate the 0G.
Yeah, it reminded me of the very, very tedious thing of, please, when you're seated on an airplane, please, put your seatbelt on because of unexpected turbulence. And you always
Right.
go like, well, it's never happened to me. But my friend who's a pilot, he flew one where there was unexpected turbulence, or maybe it was like one of his co-pilots or something told him, but 100 people injured with scalps torn off and everything and so I've been that one scared me straight. I just put the damn seatbelt on.
Right.
But yeah, if suddenly the gravity is disappearing, you've got people with major injuries.
Yes. And you would assume that would wreak havoc on your digestion and all just sort of basic body functions in terms of health. But
and you're bashing into chickens flying around, and
hey, did someone have a permit for those? But she does focus on that a bit. She says, you wake up so rested, you feel great, and you also do not need as much sleep because of it. Some people get space sickness. Don't worry, we have a fully staffed hospital that has all the latest advancements. We also have several gyms on board all over the ship. So space sickness is just tossed in before you mention, the generous workout room policy with no further elaboration or, ease of his alarm.
Connor, we have to be in the studio together. I do have the coronavirus, but don't worry, there's a hospital.
Right.
Not far away.
Rick provides bottled water and trail mix, so let's get recording.
I'm still worried about the space sickness because I have to go to the hospital to get it treated.
It wouldn't even be coronavirus. It would be, whatever the disease is in 10 years from now that I've never heard of.
But then we get some deep concern about ringtones, which I was fascinated by. Now, when it rings, it's the normal standard Navy whistle, but you can change it to any of about 1,000 different other tones if you wish. I assume he does Don't Have a Cow Man or
Crazy Frog.
Yeah, right away.
Yeah,
but,
this was 2008, I think. So this was sort of at the height of text 43434 to this number, and you'll get signed up for our service where you get 3 ringtones for just $10 a month.
Right.
I like this too. So she's describing those are the communicators that you wear on your wrist, which is once again extremely similar to Armada. But she says it's a simple on and off switch, exactly like the intercom. It's connected to the main computer. If you want the computer, all you have to do is push the button and say the word computer first and pause. We even have an Olympic-sized swimming pool that we also use as a water reservoir. Can we please focus on one thing at a time? You're just tossing in space sickness and Olympic-sized swimming pools willy-nilly here.
I put that as the greatest non sequitur in history.
It is. It's vaguely. It's like setting up a room almost.
It's amazing.
But then she elaborates on that because, of course, anyone who's invested in the world building is very curious. But she says the Olympic swimming pool, it also has a covered top that is 5 feet above the water that's totally encased in case we lose gravity. Which is a thing that I want to, let's place our bets now. Are they ever going to lose gravity on this ship, or have we wasted, 2 minutes of just trash world building?
I mean, look, there's only a third of the book left, so I don't know.
I'm going no. I guess there are 2 more books though, so that could be it could be payoff in book 3 or something.
That could be. Once again, I just will put this again. It's settled, but I just in case you're thinking maybe his child is writing parts of it. He says to Heather Courtney, sorry. I feel really lucky to be here. You know, Lieutenant, that has to be one of the best briefings I have ever had. I don't know what to say about that.
I don't know. Yeah. Deep fake computer, alien trying to pass as human. And then 8 lines later, Lieutenant, I'm going to tell the Admiral that this was the best briefing I have ever had.
I think, is he confusing? Is it something that he wanted to get in at Red Lobster? Like, you know, thank you, Barbara. You are the best waitress. When I asked for buns, you brought over more buns. And I'm going to tell your manager that you're the best waitress. And he's just like, shoot, I wasn't able to get that in there. I'll get it in the briefing part.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that this is, you know, very much designated as a military naval operation makes all of this wild informality and 6-year-old naivety all the more funny.
Yeah. Well, how many briefings, of course, quickly came to mind?
Sure.
Do you think that he's had? Because briefings is not, that's military, probably.
Well, I mean, they have probably before the school year starts, they probably have a, harassment
briefing?
Policy briefing. I don't know.
Okay.
They probably are like, there's a kid that's going to be in your class that has a peanut allergy, so this is what you need to know about that.
You've got the bottles of bleach. You have to wipe down. I guess that's a briefing.
So the guy who was giving those talks at school was just completely half-assing it. I guess that makes sense. That every briefing I would have been given by the driver's ed teacher, and he would have been very bitter.
There's a kid with a peanut allergy, and we have an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Please focus. So this is the puzzling sentence of the week for me. I think I have the answer, and I think it's, Captain, you also have time to take a nap and distress before the briefing if you want. Any idea what that means? Why? I assume making up a word called de-stress?
Yes, and feeding that into the, as we discussed last time, the text-to-speech generator?
Maybe, but I think he thinks but de-stress is not, that's not a word.
I'll take your word for that.
I mean, I guess you could hyphenate it, and from context, you could probably wedge it in there, but take a nap and distress before the briefing. Okay.
Right.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because he could be slamming up against the top bunk or whatever.
Sure, yeah, I mean...
So it would be distressing to try to nap while that's, on your mind. And space sickness, like you feel a little tightness in your throat, like, oh, damn, maybe I've got it already.
Yeah, is that just the half-gravity in this part of the thing, or is that space sickness?
Yeah, this is distressing. She was right.
But if it is de-stress, he does a bit of that too, because he goes into his living area and sat down and noticed as he looked around, he had one good-sized window in his dining area into the heavens. You could see Earth, and he noticed how beautiful Earth really was. So once again, he's just these are things that he's noticing.
Yes. Yeah. And we also have a case of an unreliable, I don't know if it's the narrator or if this is Lieutenant Courtney's fault, but David went over and opened the door to his new bedroom, and he liked it. It was very elaborate.
Oh!
Wait a minute. What the hell's going on?
Was it medium to elaborate? It's described by...
I guess maybe the medium part, maybe the kitchen area and everything's really junky, and so they average out to be medium to elaborate.
I mean, he could have been assigned the wrong room. I mean, she could have been, gauging his expectations too.
Yeah, that's true. It had all kinds of extras, and it was huge. Why are they overbuilding space?
Maybe they expect him to bring some livestock on board once he's filled out the proper 298B application.
He laid down on his bed, and it was the most comfortable bed he had ever laid on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, until you start, slamming your head on the bunk above you.
Right. It's just, again, what is going on in the author's mind?
It just has to be, from one session to another of sitting down, just completely forgetting what you had written, I guess.
You think of Das Boot or something, I don't know if you've ever seen that series. Oh, it's great. It's a Wolfgang Petersen's, magnum opus. It was a huge mini series. It was then trimmed down to a movie. But as they get on this, they meticulously recreate a U-boat and they load all the guys onto it. It'd have been great if that had been the perspective of he laid down on his U-boat bed. It was the most comfortable he'd ever had. He looked forward to being in the wolf packs where they tried to sink the merchant ships and bring about the Nazi. I mean, it's just bizarre. That's, military things. It's usually, fast paced. I got a lot to learn. We got to get to our mission. This is him like bouncing on the bed like it's a commercial for a hotel chain or something.
Right. After 4 months of no sunlight and only the beeping red light, Fritz started to experience the submarine sickness.
Yeah, well, there is a very classic scene of that where a guy goes mad and almost endangers their mission. It's fantastic. You should see it. It's good.
I will. I'll check it out.
I just bashed my microphone, by the way.
Watching the Mr. movie.
Yes, right.
But so this is how the chapter ends. This is, again, fixing on the military aspect of this whole thing. Admiral Benson walked right over to the podium and started addressing everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Admiral Benson. For some of you who don't know me, I'm your commanding officer here on Lunar Base 1. So it's just, if we're to believe this is accurate, did Patton introduce himself like the best man at a wedding, like giving the toast? Like, for those of you who don't know me, I went to college with the groom. We had some wild times. I won't get into all that, but he knows what I'm talking about.
Couple of hoots around the station, as he says, Admiral Benson.
Oh, there's J-Bug. Yeah, he was there.
All right, settle down, guys. But seriously, we're on a mission here.
Yeah, so he's the admiral. There might be people who don't know him on this ship.
I love that. That's just the last sentence of that. I'm your commanding officer here on Lunar Base 1. End of. That's it.
Right. Yeah. This is we noted it last time, but every single other chapter ends pretty much mid-speech or mid-conversation and picks up right where the other one leaves off.
Do you think he just counted words and then stuck the things in there?
Oh, man.
Because this is, I'm your commanding officer here on Lunar Base 1, chapter end, chapter 11 begins. I want to thank you all for coming and to tell everyone.
We should look. What if we determine that they're all the same?
Yeah.
Wow. We'll check that out for next time.
Yeah. Do you want to continue on to 11? Or Dixon Ticonderoga pencil is back.
Wow.
That was lost in a drawer that I dug through with purpose to find it today. So I'm ready.
All right. Well, we'll see about that. This is a tricky one, I think. This is not a easy author to discern the fake ones from the real ones, in my opinion. So
no, he has some the new quirks. I think with Dwight David Thrash, you pretty much knew from beginning to end what you were going to get. Yes. There are a few surprises, but prose-wise, it followed a pretty tight pattern. This one has a little bit of surprise in it in each. The one that
we haven't really addressed is his use of scene.
That reminds me of there's a pretty close relative of mine who picked that up, living and it drives me crazy.
There's someone we know, a mutual acquaintance who does it as well, and it is a. So yeah, I understand that it's something people do, but it always jarred me whenever he would say it. So
yeah,
tell you offline.
Sounds dumb. Yeah.
All right. So here it is. These are going to be 5 excerpts from either the back third of Moon People, or they are fanfic written by our loyal listeners. Let's get started.
All right.
Number 1. We want to thank you for this great meal. What exactly is this here? David. That's a vegetable we call asparagus, one of my favorites. If you like asparagus, then I bet you'll like to try some of these. We call this a baked potato. We stir it up into a soft pudding, and then we add butter and salt. Potatoes also grow well in space. I hope you will like it. Captain Tudmoke. I believe I will try it. That's good. We have something like this on our planet. It's called stemmage. What is this food here? It sure is good. Lieutenant Dogmas, one of Captain Tudmoke's officers, asked. Admiral Benson. That is what we call a dessert on Earth. We usually eat our dessert after we eat our main meal. That particularly dessert is called chocolate ice cream. And dessert is spelled desert in everyone.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's so hard. I hope so. I don't know. I'm going to say it's real.
Wow. That is not a vote of confidence in humanity.
I don't know. I mean, aliens are coming up, and he's got to write aliens, so anything could happen. Literally anything could happen.
Number 2. Captain Tudmoke turned on the comm and said, show the video. David, you have some images of what the Archons looks like? Captain Tudmoke, yes, we do, because we watched them when they were fighting another planet, he said as the video started. The whole room was stunned as the video started because the Archons were terrifying with large mouths that bit everyone they fought, and there was also a lot of claws and spines, and they used handheld weapons. Large and hand are both capitalized in the middle of sentences.
Oh, those are quirks that are... all right, so that's the end of that?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. This is dart throwing again. I'm going to say I'm just baffled. I'm going to say that's fanfic.
Come out strong with your fancy pencil and then immediately start throwing darts. This is like that playoff game when the Cardinals scored 10 runs in Game 5 against the Braves last year. Just immediate tables turning.
Yeah, this is going out to do the Olympic dive and slipping on the board and hitting your head and falling in the water.
Here's number 3. Commander Kraft said, Captain, we are receiving a call from NASA. Okay, patch me through to NASA. NASA, I am receiving you. Hey, Doc, it's us, Billy and Kathy. We missed you, so we called you. Hey, kids, I miss you too. T.O. You won't believe everything that happened to me here. We made new alien friends. They are called the Paulines, and they are very friendly. We also battled their enemies, the Archons, and won. The whole class said at once, wow, that is really cool. David had a smile knowing that he saved the world and made his kids proud of their teacher.
Oh, I mean, that's spot on. What are you supposed to do? Put yourself in my shoes, people.
Hey, I don't envy it.
I'm going to say fanfic. It's so good, but yeah.
We have number 4. Oh no, David thought. Cheral is dying, and it is all my fault for dragging her into this space mess. Please do not die, Cheral, David begs. But it's too late, T.O. Cheral is gone. You may still save her, Captain Tudmoke said suddenly. David turned and asked, how do you have technology? No, Tudmoke replied. Technology cannot bring her back. Technology cannot bring back life, but love can. A true love's kiss.
No. I mean, if Cheral had just flat out died, I would be so happy. Fanfic.
Okay. And number 5, final one. The Admiral hurried to his office to talk to the President and to update him on all that has transpired. He got through pretty easy because the President was waiting with anticipation. The President. Well, Admiral, how did it go on the alien ship? I bet you have a lot to tell. Admiral Benson. Yes, sir, I do. Well, sir, first I would like to say we are on the verge of going into another era. Talks went great, sir. The President. Thank God, Admiral. I was hoping you were going to say that. Now I know I picked the right man for the job. I'm sorry to interrupt, Admiral. Please tell me more. Admiral Benson. Yes, sir. The Paulines are a very civilized and very advanced people. They are willing to sell or trade their spaceships and technology and anything else that we are interested in. They seem to just be interested in making new friends and doing a lot of trade. I believe they are being honest, sir. On our tour, we had seen a lot in their museum. We seen and learned about other life forms all over the universe.
Am I able to revise answers based on... Have we ever done that before?
I don't think we have, but sure. Sure, why not?
It's
up to you.
Just an instinct. I'm going to say the first one was fanfic and this is real. And then so the rest are fanfic. So this is the only real one.
You're changing the one about the asparagus and the baked potato.
Correct.
And then this is real.
The pudding of baked potato.
Okay. All right. Well, man, I'm stunned. You did very well and almost were perfect until that last little switch.
No.
So we had number one, pudding, desserts, baked potatoes. It was real.
I blew it at the finish line.
Yeah, you did a little. You stumbled across, but still a amazing showing. Number two, that was Archons were terrifying with large mouths that bit everyone they fought and used handheld weapons. That was fanfic written by Patrick. Number three, the one about the kids calling him up and saying we're proud of your teacher. That was fanfic written by Triss. Number four, this was Cheral dying and a true love's kiss could bring her back. That was fanfic written by IJC. And number five, speaking to the president on the phone with the president being in parentheses to announce that he is talking. That was real as well.
Oh my God.
And yeah, so, it truly is going to get even better once, I guess, both alien species and Captain Tudmoke show up. Like, that's going to be amazing.
And it seems like the conflict has got to be very, very brief because we haven't had it. It hasn't made a big showing at all in any of the fanfic or
right. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's sort of just like setting the stage for the rest of the trilogy where the first aliens show up and it's revealed that they're nice, but we know that because of the introduction. But we're gonna find out.
I think it's just going to be a lot of hanging around with the aliens talking about food and how comfortable their mattresses are. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the rest of the book.
So I was looking for stuff and I found the alien talking about asparagus and I was like, well, we got to use this. And then I read a little bit more, or maybe I was trying to find it to copy it. And that was the second mention. So the asparagus gets called back after they are initially taste it. So. So that maybe gives you an indication of what he might have got at Red Lobster, the baked potato and the...
Well, I just hate that we have to puzzle that out, though. Mm-hmm. Make it explicit.
It's very unfair.
It's clearly an interest you have, and so to skip over it.
Well, look at the menu and see what is closest to the 222 on the Red Lobster menu, and then maybe we can decide based on there. And I believe we do get an answer to that in Chapter 11, Status Quo. So we can move on to that.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. We get a thorough breakdown of it.
It starts sort of in media res with Admiral Benson's speech, and I said earlier he sounded like a best man speech. He sort of shifts into sounding like, your mom at the start of a 3-hour car trip to visit some out of state relatives. Mm-hmm. He says we all have to check and double check every little thing to make sure we're not overlooking anything, because once we leave, we are not coming back for a very long time. And so, there are life Navy men who are like, sir, we have, we are a rigid machine here doing things like clockwork. Like, we do not need to be reminded to double check, as we take off on our 10-year mission to Pluto.
Yeah, they seem very ill prepared. But they have his calming voice, though, because he says, well, right now we are doing fine. We are on schedule and everything is a go. I want to welcome our new... Don't you think the Admiral would want to put a little piss and vinegar into the speech and pump things up? But no, it's just, again, it's sort of the bland, everything is good. It's the, PTA meeting, not wanting to ruffle any feathers right away. And we'll talk a little later. There's a couple of things we need to sand down, but everything's good.
He gives David, he says, "Where are you at, Captain?" "I'm here, sir." David stood up. "Admiral Benson." "There he is." So we get another one of those.
So yeah, he gets the briefing and then he hurries back to his computer, or he watches a little TV and gets a little sleep, which is always good to know, because he knows that it's comfortable sleep. No word on whether he floated into the air.
Yeah, we're not told.
And the view stuns him again.
And yeah, so the timing is a little bit of a crunch. I think the meeting was at 0400. They're launching at 0800. He needs to be on the bridge at 0600, but he sets his alarm for 0500. So they're really just sort of jamming things in here. But this is good. He wakes up after his alarm goes off at 5, and he places an order through his computer. He says, "I would like a cup of coffee, 2 fried eggs over easy with 2 pieces of bacon, and also 2 pieces of buttered rye toast. Also in my so that I think that's the 222.
That's the 222 solved. Yep.
And he also says, in my coffee, I would like 2 tablespoons of sugar and a little cream. a computer says, affirmative, please allow 2 minutes.
Yep.
So they're just really sort of landing on thick here. And we looked in, I looked for an image when we posted this last week or whenever we posted the episode. I guess 222 has some sort of number significance in the angel community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it's like sort of like their 420. Like it's if you see the number 222, it means an angel is looking out for you.
Right. But sort of the angels of the astrology world, I believe. There's some sort of crossover with that.
Yeah, I didn't look too much further because I was worried about what it was going to do to my like Google recommendations. But yeah, I assume that's not any sort of actual religious thing. It's more of like the precious moments interpretation of angels type of thing.
Right, right. But this thing that makes his breakfast, it looks like a microwave oven with instructions next to it. The instructions said to call the kitchen and tell them what you want. Then they will send it to you through an air tube, which runs on an air system like the mailbox. And then you warm it up in the microwave. So there was a thing that looked like a microwave. It was a microwave. So I don't know. I'm probably not on board for getting something sent through an air tube, getting my fried eggs over easy with 2 pieces of bacon and buttered rye toast and putting it in a microwave.
Right, yes. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of separation between your twos on that one.
Yeah, that seems more medium than elaborate to me.
Right, yes. Well, that's sort of, if they got the budget cuts, so gravity system was first to go, and then the food arriving already heated was probably second on the docket.
Why do you think he didn't just make it that it's a food synthesizer, which has been like First Officer Spoke had so many years before?
Right. Yeah, or pill-based food.
Why is he sending it through pneumatic tubes like a mailbox?
Like the mail? Yeah, I don't know. I associate those with old banks as well. Like, I'm not sure about the, I guess that's how mail systems used to run in like, a newspaper or something. But
yeah, anyway, that whole thing again with the paragraph surrounding the description of the breakfast, not written by a human. It just can't be. It can't be.
And neither is this one. It's the closest we've got yet to a description of a rig, and it definitely qualifies as a hell of a rig. Commander Tice is saying, "Sir, this is your station area over here, Captain." And I'll just stop at the end of the sentence. The commander pointed to a rather large custom console type of desk with many LED displayed lights all over it, with a couple of dials and levers and a couple of view screens and 3 large reclinable chairs, what looked like a race car driver's shoulder strap seatbelts that attached to the back of the chair when not in use, period. So a hell of a rig warrants a hell of a run-on in this situation.
He errs in the other direction. He panics and puts a period or some sort of
right in the middle.
Yeah, he's more apt to stop than to run on. So that was an anomaly there.
Speaking of misplaced punctuation, we get this delightful sentence. In front of the bridge was a large view screen. It kind of looked like a movie theater room.
Yes.
It ends in a question mark.
That was one of my 40 dumb sentences of the week.
And I don't have much else left in this chapter, but I do have one good exchange.
Oh, yeah, please. I don't have anything else.
Okay. Then the door opened, and there was about 8 people coming in. So there's some ambiguity here. However, immediately the next sentence, 3 women and 5 men. There were 8 people. You were able to size them up immediately by gender, so you can't have it both ways.
The Admiral is very facilitating, though. He says, "Hello, sir. Hello, Captain. How do you like the bridge?" "Very impressive, sir. I particularly like my area, Admiral." So he's mostly concerned about people's comfort and that they're feeling good about their mission, and so it's just a different kind of leadership that I appreciate.
Yeah, you're comfortable, Private? Like how, you haven't felt, you haven't seen one of your friends' faces turn to goo after gravity kicks out in the middle of the night and slams him into the bunk above him?
"Oh, the captain is comfortable. Lieutenant, why don't you get a bale of cotton and follow him around and wipe his ass for him, because his comfort is #1 priority."
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
That's delightful. Yeah, it would be. Is that a service you offer? That's well above medium to elaborate.
And as long as I gotcha, I am going to put in that application for chickens.
Well, I'll approve it, but I ain't gonna like it.
I'm going to draw a wang on the form itself.
I I notice your chickens are laying extra heavy. You know, I don't like it. I don't like you. I don't like the chickens. But good job. Those eggs are going to feed a lot of men.
But damn it, I respect you.
Well, yeah, that's the end of chapter 11. I mean, you know, the chapters are just, you know, interspersed throughout. So 12 goes directly into the mission launch. And this one started out with some more Dwight David Thrashian gadgets.
Mm-hmm.
It says David was fascinated with the latest instruments on his console. He had a view screen that was connected to their observatory computer and a new radio waves emission meter that was so hacked to it you could detect if a planet had water or land or oxygen and what gases there was on the planet or the moon. He also had a long-distance sound emitter that could pick up sounds from great distance away.
How does that work? Do you understand I am not obviously a sonar engineer, but a sound emitter picks up sounds? I mean, it could be right. He's the scientist. I don't know.
So, like, I remember at a Blockbuster video training I worked there for a month and a half, senior year of high school. One of the products they grilled you on was a VCP, not a VCR. It was a video cassette player. So we always had VCRs. That was pretty standard. But hey, a VCR, a video cassette recorder, could also play videos. So I guess this long distance sound emitter very well might also pick up sounds from a great distance away.
Sure. But you referenced it earlier. It's a little bit alarming. Everyone started familiarizing themselves with their area. This is like mission go right now.
Yeah.
And they are not familiar with their instruments. So this is like, the Apollo team being sent up and like, what's this thing do?
Yeah. Hey, Buzz, what's that doohickey over? Give that a flip. Oh, just sucked Michael out into the void of space. All right, guess we probably should have familiarized ourselves a little before this.
We should have trained. Yeah, and he says he was not familiar with many other instruments.
What is he familiar with as a high school astronomy teacher?
I don't know, but I like that that's quickly passed up on because we meet Lieutenant Tawny Fisher. So that's
What does she have to say?
Tawny Fisher was the pilot, and next to her was Jenna Parsons, who was our co-pilot and navigator.
Yeah, these we got. I only know one Tawny, and that's the one who was in the the White Snake video.
Tawny Katane.
Yes.
Yeah. He seems to have a little bit of a fondness for stripper names. I don't mean to offend anyone out there, but come on.
Yeah, that's right there. Right, two of them back to back.
Yeah. But we also don't learn how he knows who these people are, because usually he gives us the
briefings,
incredibly crappy dialogue that would explain that. But he just these just get introduced. And, and it says, it looked like we had a crew.
Yeah. I guess they could all be wearing name tags. I'm not sure.
Yes.
It's at this point in time, he's, the story is so unbelievable that, you may as well just take things for granted, or you just, you let it go like you would in a movie where they do have the introduction montages that he might have just skipped over.
Sure. But I've been harping on the Admiral, but we do get Dwight D. Eisenhower Operation Overlord speech coming up here. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, I had another one marked as that, but this one is very well works as well. Hello, men and women aboard the USS Lunar Base 1. We are about to embark on a historical journey out into our solar system to Mars first, and then to one of Saturn's moon Titan, and then beyond. We have, in my opinion, the best crew in space. So try not to worry.
and along with the giving them such a confirmation not to worry, we have orders to launch at 0800, and we are functioning at 92%.
How to get your crew to worry.
The other 8% are things that are unrelated to ship's function, mainly stuff we haven't unpacked yet.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Tawny is nudging Jenna and being like, I think our leader is in serious cognitive decline. He's sundowning. What does unpacked yet means? And again, they're 15 minutes from launching, and 8% things are not functioning. It's a huge number.
He's referencing his underpants that he hasn't put in drawers yet. Clearly gone mad.
So yeah, that's not exactly the stuff of D-Day. A lot of you aren't making it back type of thing.
Right. Wow. What's next?
They say that there's a it's 7:45. Again, this is 15 minutes before launch, and in 15 minutes we are going to launch. Before I will tell you on the intercom to secure yourself in one of many locations on the ship by telling you red or yellow alert. If you do not know your location, please ask a supervisor in your area. So this is things being established. They're familiarizing themselves with the actual launch procedure, not just the instruments. When we say red alert, you should preferably be at your location or post. When we say yellow alert, it means to go immediately to your locations and prepare for a red alert. So one, it's insane that they're doing this, but two, they're just using terms. Red alert has a pretty distinct meaning. It's like danger.
Yeah.
Things are imminent, but they have just assigned it to a, that means phase 2 or something. Phase 1 is prepare. Phase 2 is be at your station.
Well, the fact that this is getting explained at this point again is utter madness.
Right.
I mean, he's walking them through everything. It is the first time anyone has heard this besides the Admiral.
Right. And so if you were making if you're doing Avatar, you'd hear that would come over the thing. This is Admiral Benson. We're going into a red alert. I repeat, this is a red alert. And the guy is like, what? And then Tawny goes, no. On this ship, red alert means you should just be at your station or, at another location that is secured with the harnesses latched. He's like, oh, okay, phew. But you have the actual lieutenant explaining it to everyone on board in this book.
But then we get to the countdown itself.
Oh, man.
Which is this is madness. It was T-minus 4 minutes, 23 seconds and counting. Then it got down to T-minus 43 seconds. Lieutenant
you don't just jump ahead 3 minutes and 20 seconds? That's not your normal iteration of time?
Oh, once again, why those intervals? Who knows? Lieutenant.
Just to clarify for people, that is 2 back-to-back sentences.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Lieutenant Parsons, how's everything looking? Asked the Admiral. We're looking good, sir. All systems are a go. In addition, the course is laid in, sir. Then it got down to T-minus 15 seconds and count. So that happened, does that time check out for you?
28 seconds
roughly.
For that conversation.
Yeah. Then 10, 9, 8, and I think you see where I'm going with this.
Yes. Okay. Well, you can't be sure. We just had a 4:23, 43.
That's true. But it does count down to 1 in order, and then the exact same ignition full thrust.
Suddenly, the ship started to vibrate just a little, and then we started to move. My God, that must be awful and jarring. I mean, it wasn't that bad.
That was what was on everyone's mind.
Hey, this is all right.
Now,
it's like when you get on a brand new, JetBlue or like Virgin America plane, and you're like, they've actually, this is a great TV screen. Like they've put in some mood lighting. This is not that bad.
It's not that bad. But instead of continuing to familiarize themselves with and manipulate the things that are making this launch happen, everyone started cheering and clapping. Please focus, people.
Right. Yes. Everything of this is a minor symphony, like working in hand with each other. Like every person has a role.
Yes.
But yeah, they're just breaking out into a control room, Apollo 13 cheering before anything's even happened.
And then Lieutenant Fisher, let's start out on impulse, and then we'll go to Mach 5, said the Admiral. MOCK 5.
Yep. A real treat for anyone who's not reading along. They go to Mach 5, so the text-to-speech thing bears out even further.
Oh, but he had to look at it.
I knew that. There was a Nintendo game called Mach Rider when I was 7 that, that's when I learned about that term. Or Gillette Mach 5, the well-known razor product that's been on the market for over 2 decades.
Right. I mean, so if you take it at face value, there are, 8 crew members, and they're probably numbered 1 through 8, so whoever's number 5. I'm the science officer.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm Tawny. I have the name of someone who attacked Chuck Finley. Ooh.
Wow, that's deep.
Well, I mean, that's what I know her for. Then
Sure.
They would always reference that she was in a Whitesnake video, which I didn't have and wouldn't have been allowed to watch. So,
Yeah. But then the Admiral announces their pretty open campus policy.
Okay.
Those of you who are not connected to the running of the ship can stay or leave at your own will. If not sure, ask permission. That's his final words before the Admiral takes off. So he gets them through the launch. And yeah, they just have an open, just wander where you need to. If you're not sure whether you need to be manipulating the things that are keeping the ship running, just raise a hand and ask a supervisor.
Incredible.
Otherwise, you can take off and go feed the chickens.
Yeah, it's like you said before, not exactly Crimson Tide or something like that. Not even not even Top Gun.
I'll see you on the con, or not. I mean, again, if you're busy or whatever,
Yeah.
Stop by.
If gravity kicks out, just play one of those new games that Jen has been working on because it's like Superman when it happens. So maggots. So yeah, he gets a phone call from Kim Moon. They're very casual. It starts to get into some more of the science, which is the stuff that I would have trouble, I think, understanding if it was well written. But it's sort of like we saw the flash of lights. It was along the path. It's moving at this many light years. It's now flashed again. It's on the course, or maybe it changed course. It's all very tricky to me to understand when it's this poorly written.
That stuff, I glossed over that. I felt like we've wasted so much time. Whatever their mission is so vague now. And so when they start talking about the flashing light and we picked it up late, I don't give
Right.
I don't give a rat's ass. It's obviously not a thing. It's a red herring.
Right.
But I do like that Kim calls. So this is NASA phoning him up.
Yeah.
Commander Kraft, this is Kim Moon here at NASA. We just wanted to say that was a picture-perfect launch. Congratulations. And then, hello, Captain Kim Moon at NASA. How do you like your new job? I love it, Mr. Moon, and I think you would love it too. I'm just getting situated. The Admiral going like, could we get to
Yes, really. This is like the most expensive thing. It's more than the fuel we're burning, is this communique, as they call it.
But yeah, I didn't have much for that alien red herring is not capturing me at all.
Yeah, I like that they say that we're getting an communique. Commander Kraft said, "Oh, really?" And then it says, Mr. Moon says, "That's not what I called about, Commander." "Oh, really? What's up?" And then he says when David says, "I'm just getting situated," then Moon says, "I don't know if you've seen it yet, but we had another flash of light on that same heading as our meteor." "Oh, really? Where at?" So they're constantly surprised by this because no one on board is actually monitoring these things as well.
How could you make it worse? This, then the second flash of light was 3 minutes after the meteor, which would have put the speed at the. Now, if you calculate the speed of the second flash, you can't. This is the threat that is apparently like exterminate Earth level threat, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's explained
thing's
like
going to hit the sun.
It is so poorly done, even for him. Why can't you just say there's something coming towards us?
Yeah,
it was hiding behind a planet for a while. It's reemerged, sir. The threat is imminent. Instead, it's this really, really esoteric flashing and exploding and speed of light and calculations. It's just terrible.
Yeah, I read a series by a Chinese author called The Three-Body Problem, which got into light speed, gravity, like how physics work in terms of a black hole and planets orbiting each other and all this stuff. And I, of course I didn't understand any of it, but I understand what was happening in the world of the book, which, you cannot say at all for this guy.
Yeah. I mean, years ago I read a slim book trying to kind of explain the Einstein view of the world. It was just called Einstein's Universe. I read it as a high schooler. I understood it perfectly well. This is not coming through for me at all.
Right. Yeah. Or like Interstellar, where it's like, time, they pretty much give you like a 30-second speech of like, this gravity is heavier, so time's going to work slower down here. Okay, I'll take your word for that. Mm-hmm. Like, makes sense to me. Let's move on.
Yeah.
This is David noticing some reminiscences of gases, and we're supposed to
reminiscences. That's right.
But yeah, I think pretty much my note here was I have no idea what the science of this is, but they immediately come to the conclusion that this ship can go 4 times the speed of light, and it has cloaking capability. End of chapter. Mm-hmm. That's what these high school astronomy teachers intuit from Kim Moon's phone call.
Right. On to chapter 13.
Yeah, that's our last one of the session.
Yeah.
Chapter 13, Hide and Seek.
Which just continues from, again, immediately where it was before. Let's just stipulate right now, this is all just one long column that has been arbitrarily divided into these chapters.
We can use the manifesto word. We can. I think we're comfortably in that turf.
I wonder when he poked the chapter titles in, do you think he had flashcards or something that he sort of field tested with his family? What do you think? Do you like Hide and Seek better or Reminiscences of Gas? Which do you think is better?
But it was on a yarn wall in his shed, so chapter 12, I'll connect that with a string of yarn to chapter 13. Yeah, it's all making sense.
Right away we get the talk of the gas. Give me a minute, sir, and I'll tell you what kind of gas it is. Sure, Captain. Take your time. So, again, this is an existential threat to the sun of our solar system, and the Admiral is saying, take your time.
Yeah, he's scrolling through Instagram as he does that. Take your time. I've got all the time. I'm just, oh, look, my niece's cat had kittens. But then he says, so in the world of the book, it says, give me a minute. He says, take your time. Here it is, sir. It looks like it's a radioactive carbon trail. Those are 3 back-to-back sentences. So there's not even after 37 seconds exactly, he said, here it is, sir. It looks like but then there's another similar exchange to that right after. What the heck is this? Found it, sir. Then David zoomed in. It appears to be a moon, sir, and it's parked right behind Pluto. So this is, again, good, hard sci-fi. Moon's parking behind, one of the planets that he's heard of, like the strangest planet he can tell.
Right.
And that continues with the meteor that was coming from the constellation of Scorpio was also 10 kilometers in size. The odds of that are 1,000,000 to 1, sir. And so it sort of just demonstrates his infantile nature of, he can see Scorpio out in the sky. And in this, those stars are, they're like, you hold up your thumb and they're a thumb apart from each other. So it's just like, bursting out of the middle of that constellation, I guess, which I assume those stars are countless millions of miles away from each other.
Right.
I don't know what any of them are actually called, but he's probably coming closer from one of those stars than really any other part of the constellation.
Right. Yeah, I don't, this chapter's a little weak for me too, because of all the lame science in it.
Yeah. Well, he says that they double-checked the ship's computer. It's functioning at 100% accurate, which means it is working better than his computer in the classroom, or maybe it just wasn't booted up. Maybe they booted it up ahead of time.
Yeah, I noted that piece because all of that is a repeat of what they've already talked about, and they're currently listening to all of this, and he says, Admiral, we're done with our systems check, and we are operating at 100% accurate. Yes, I heard it. The radio is still open.
Yeah.
You don't need to turn and repeat the stuff to me.
But yeah, they're heading out to Pluto, I guess, or they're changing their course. They were going to go to Mars and then Saturn's moon Titan, but now they're going to Pluto. So I believe we talked about that, and it takes at least a decade, probably closer to 2, to get there as a manned shuttle. Mm-hmm. But this was the other sort of Patton Eisenhower speech. We have to be alert and know what we are doing in battle. Suppose, for instance, in battle we lose gravity. We would have to fight the battle without gravity. Suppose the machine gunners start mowing us down on Omaha Beach. A lot of us will die from machine guns. Then that is what will happen.
Well, you also get, again, this Patton-like thing. We may not get a second chance. I have one more question, sir. What's that, Captain? Well, sir, I was wondering if we had any kind of shield, sir, like on Star Trek. Very good question, Captain. The answer is yes, we do. And then we get the full description that was in the prelude to the book.
Yeah, I didn't write it down because, we already, I think, read and discussed it, but it has some sort of liquid that turns into steel that's 4 inches thick.
Mm-hmm. Our shields are all over on certain parts of the ship. So they're all over on in vital areas. They're a liquid that turns into the strength of 4 inches of steel when it gets hard because of being exposed to the cold of space. They also have heaters on them to turn them back into a liquid state again. All our windows have a thick piece, P-E-A-C-E, of steel for shutters that close when we go to red alert.
Oh, so
Yeah.
That's a different red alert. Then.
Different red alert.
That's battle red alert versus
That's medium
routine
red alert.
launch. Yes.
And in response to that, he says, "Wow, that's impressive. Thank you, sir," said David. "Anytime, Captain. That was a good question." Oh, yes. Again, maggot.
He also, chimes in when he says, I also want us to watch the Lunar Base 1 battle ready training video at our stations on stage separation, also over and over before we go into battle. David spoke up and said, "Sir, does each section have weapons capability?" "Yes, they do." Thank you for your question, high school astronomy teacher. But so the separating is also addressed in the introduction. So every base can separate into 3 distinct sections. For some reason, I guess he thinks it's neat. And every one of those has the same weapons and shield capabilities.
But did you note that so this was foundational. The fact that it could separate, I think, didn't he say at the beginning, you might be surprised to learn that
Yes.
or something like but hang on, there's some really exciting news. The ships separate into 3 sections. And he gets to the part where they actually do, and they're described, and he pees it down his leg. Because of a typo. Also, this ship separates into tree sections. So you have to get better at copy editing the thing that you said was most important. I mean, come on. There's this Scottish king, and his name is Macbeth. Like, no, you're writing this. You have to get this right.
Right, yes. It was Safi's choice. I'm not sure what the role is going to play, but I'm going to be guessing it's going to be like the gravity, where he just thinks these things are neat and worth talking about, and separating into 3 ships that allows him to get into their half diamond stance is not going to be that big of a deal in the long term.
No. That's why I read this stuff far less closely than anything else.
Right, but someone did point it out that the half diamond, there might be a more reasonable way to describe that to people.
Yeah,
I say triangle, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But so they I don't know why they're testing the thing out before they get to Pluto. I guess this might be the ship is heading towards them or something. It was hard to keep track of. But they start calling the aliens the moon ship because they thought it was a moon behind Pluto. They get into their half diamond stance, and I think this is the way it ends. All of a sudden, we started to separate. Separation was going smoothly to everyone's surprise. So, I mean, it seems like probably the most vital thing they're doing is separating from each other. But I guess they haven't tested it, and people are shocked when it goes well. So they are, once again, the least prepared ship we've ever seen.
If it is your first time, you would be surprised that you pulled it off. So
yeah, I mean, when I had to move out of our the first place we rented in San Diego to move to another place, I got put behind a wheel of a truck I was not prepared to drive because they didn't have the size truck I requested. And at the end of the day, when I was sort of like sweating and cracking a beer, I was like, I'm surprised that went well. I really thought I was going to hit something and this was going to be an awful day. But so that's the level of expertise they're working with here in the Navy.
Right. I love that that's a thing that someone will just hand you. Give them enough money, give them your credit card, they'll hand you a giant truck. You are not prepared to drive
Not at all. You didn't want it. You don't want to do it. But yeah, here you go.
You're not qualified at all. When I years ago went to Ireland and they give you the keys to the car, that is, you're on the wrong side of the road, you're on the wrong side of the car, and the stick shift, there's no automatics. So the stick shift is on the wrong side of you. And you're going through traffic circles, going the opposite direction. Here you go.
Yeah, 2 inches from a cement retaining wall and a hedgerow on the other side. That
we'll see you back here in 2 weeks, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
And they say that in an incomprehensible accent as well.
Right. I just have 2 more things for this. I'm going to burn a dumb sentence because I'm sure there's a surfeit of those. So,
oh yeah.
So they're making the preparations for the attack, and on the way back, you could tell David was thinking, "What did I get myself into?" What is the perspective there? On the way back, you could tell.
Yeah, it sort of goes into second person.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that like, bright lights, big city type of thing?
Yeah. But who's the you? I guess it's speaking to us.
He's broken the fourth wall. He's gotten into we. He's gotten into, first person. So he's spinning the wheel o' tenses, I guess.
And then the final thing was just an Admiral, please, is when the Admiral said, well, here we go, campers.
Yeah.
That seemed a little loose for what they were doing. But again, that's his style. He's got a different style.
Yeah, I guess that could be the sort of sarcastic, maggot speak type of thing. But it also just sounds a lot like, Ranger Joe on Full House.
Yeah, it sounds like
howdy ho campers, Ned Flanders type of thing.
Yeah, your dad in the front seat in the station wagon. So, yeah.
All right. Well, it's a lot to take in. Rigs, tense changes, moon ships, hot, horny sex.
Yeah. And I've scrolled down I'm on the ebook right now. I scrolled down just half a page and there's the Death Star taken up from margin to margin. It's right there. So.
Well, yeah, we've got that to look forward to. Maybe the ebook has the licensing agreement at the back of it or something.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I'm sure he buttoned that down.
Well, all right. That's a lengthy discussion, but we have a surfeit of dumb sentences, so let's move on to the dumb sentence of the week.
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big. A sentence ends with a period, or an exclamation, or a question mark. A sentence
Sometimes a sentence even ends with a question when it's not a question in the world of
Often.
DMC.
Very often that happens. Yeah.
So yeah, tons of these. Some of them we've already covered. We'll sort of speed on through them. We had Janelle and Patrick submitted. She leaned in toward David, and they kissed passionately for about a minute and then stopped. Patrick posited that it has to be the absolute least erotic rendition of kissing in all of time. I say it's probably up there. From Ben, we had, good. It sounds like we've got a good plane. Plane meaning plan. He was instantly reminded of the Simpsons quote, nothing can possibly go wrong. Which that sounds, that works for me. We had David, which was, it has a covered top that is 5 feet above the water, and that's totally encased in case we lose gravity. And he focused on the clumsy use of encased in place of encased next to the other term in case we lose gravity. We have Christopher, who's a Patreon supporter, who this one was one you pointed out. If you notice, we have everything categorized with the alphabet, like each of the sections on board are A to Z. We also use numerical order. We have Seth submitted, because in that particular area, there is nothing anywhere in that region. I forget what that was speaking about, but it was probably something from Kim Moon. He just said, I have no words for this. Yanni and Devin, both Patreon supporters, submitted. The commander pointed to a rather large custom console type of desk with many LED displayed lights all over it. This is the run-on rig sentence that they both submitted. We have AJ, a Patreon supporter. No, sir, we were going to have livestock, but we realized we didn't really need livestock. A personal favorite. Tom H. submitted, again, the patent speech. Suppose, for instance, in battle we lose gravity. We would have to fight the battle without gravity. At least the logic checks out on that one. This is Joe submitted your favorite one. Captain, you also have time to take a nap and distress before the briefing if you want. This is just like a greatest hits rundown.
Really?
Augusta and Mikael Esquire. They woke up staring at each other with a big smile on each other's faces, and Cheral said, I had the best time last night, and now you're going to leave me. One of them wrote, typos aside, this is some seriously peculiar transitive smiling action. How he... Paige submitted, he went into the kitchen. He noticed a large, what looked like microwave oven with instructions next to it. But it turns out it is a microwave, as we discussed. Rob and Mark Berger, both Patreon supporters, submitted. Also, the lighting in space was awesome. One of them submitted, it comes out of nowhere. There's no context nor follow-up sentences for clarification. It's even missing a comma. Even more than all the descriptions of love making, this tiny sentence is something truly special. Chef's kiss. Tim submitted, yours is like medium to elaborate. Also, the unreliable narrator, Jay, submitted, I also want us to go watch the Lunar Base 1 battle-ready training video at our stations on stage separation, also over and over before we go into battle. That sort of delves into Bob Crane patriotism turf.
Really.
Blake submitted, Lieutenant Fisher turned on the engines and started to warm it up, which we omitted somehow. But he said, not a lot of fireworks, as Mike likes to say, but the image of a giant spaceship needing to be warmed up like an old K car in January was kind of amusing.
Yeah, just hitting the throttle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Burn off the carbon, boys.
Heather, Patreon supporter, said, as we walk, I will point out the general places like restaurants and shopping facilities where we would have anything you would want or would be able to get on Earth. She said it's like Chad and Dale go to space. Paul submitted, thank you again, sir. Just remembering there's no such thing as evening in space. That was after he wished her good evening. He said, it's truth. It made me burst out laughing. Crystal submitted, also, this ship separates into tree sections. We have never tried that either. Lucas, but I know the only thing I regret in my life is leaving you. He said, I won't deny that human beings are very capable of doing things that they know they'll regret in the future, but it's not very romantic. He's essentially saying, I don't want to leave you. Well, goodbye. What else do we have? Andrew, are you sure, Captain, it's not Pluto's regular moon? It's just more science talk. We have Harris. Well, sir, I was wondering if we had any kinds of shields, sir, like on Star Trek. So that's, again, you pointed out that was deemed a good question by the Admiral. Ben focused on the waste goes to an area where the water is separated from the waste and the waste is dried, and then the waste is taken to the greenhouse to be used as a fertilizer, and we do add a lot of things to the waste. And then we finally have Triss, who said we have a view screen that was connected to their observatory computer and a new radio waves emissions meter that was so accurate that you could detect if a planet had water or land or oxygen and what gases there was on the moon. Thank you, Dwight David Thrash. Oh, man, a lot of good dumb sentence submissions. I think this definitely broke the record. We could not read them all, and we covered a lot of them in the thing, but thank you for submitting them, and thank you for everyone who is a Patreon supporter who submitted one. Like you said, we posted a bonus dark web sketch to Patreon. We posted Lauren's critique of this, which people really seem to enjoy, critique of the introduction, and we obviously appreciate everyone who is supporting us on there. It's patreon.com/372 pages. I don't know what we're up to there, but it's approaching 500 with
nice.
this new book. So yeah, it's quite a thing. We have 478, so 22 people up there. We'll do something special once we hit 500. Join us. It's a lot of fun, and we really appreciate it.
Yes, we do indeed. Do you have a dumb sentence that hasn't been covered?
I think I do.
Oh, okay. Go with yours. I have one that, again, no fireworks, but interesting.
Okay, yeah. This was, thank you, Lieutenant. This is David. Thank you, Lieutenant. I was just sitting here looking out my dining room window in unbelief. So that one, he has coined a new term, which I got to say, I admire. It's I might start working that in.
Yeah. In distress. Yeah. No, when you go to distress. This one is, I believe he's talking about the moon, the fake moon, the Death Star.
Okay. Sure.
We do know how much more advanced they are from our ship. from our... Wait, what?
In some ways, they are carbon-based, which makes them much more advanced than our ship.
From our ship. Just another idiosyncratic way to confuse everything. Like, wait, it comes out of the ship? I don't know. Anyway.
No, or like, from the readings our ship gives us, we can tell they are more advanced than us, which, of course, is not how that works grammatically, but could be what he means.
Yeah, I don't know.
Their ship, or that their ship is more, anyway, why give him the benefit of the doubt? He hasn't earned it.
If I had given you Vegas odds on something that there's an author out there who is a good deal worse than Dwight David Thrash, would you have? I mean, I'm sure.
Oh man, well that probably warrants a poll. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I would do that. I think that oh man.
I mean, do you think he is? I think he's worse than Dwight David Thrash.
I don't think with a gun to my head I could answer that question. I might have to say DDT just because all the copy and paste is just such its own unique thing.
Yeah. All right.
If you took that out, but taking it out, you'd have 10% of the book left over.
Yeah. I just think the errors in this and the typos and everything, the inability to even recognize when a word is very, very wrong, just puts it at a different level. Whereas Dwight David Thrash was just, he had his obsessions and things, and there were typos, but there weren't, I don't know, this just seems to be another level. But I'll leave that to our listeners to decide.
Yeah, we'll put up a poll on Patreon. Here we go with time to do some...
So a lot of mail, you say. People just aren't taking this as straightforward face value and moving on with their lives? They have things to say about this?
It is inspiring a torrent of emails. Probably have reached the word count of the book based on the emails people sent us. So we cannot get to them all, but maybe we'll read some more at the end of the book. First one we have, this is a theme people are sort of seizing on. That's from Harris. To add into authors, this guy reminds me of William S. Burroughs. There's something unintentionally beat poet about the long paragraphs full of half sentences where multiple people speak pidgin English. He says, I know they're technically typos. And the surreal is treated as commonplace, and the commonplace is treated as surreal.
I've never read. Have you?
I haven't either. I think he was maybe focused on one of Tom Waits' weirder albums, reading one of his poems.
Oh, that makes utter sense, yeah.
But sure, we'll take his word for it. But this next one is another comparison from Maggie, a bit lower brow. For some reason, early into reading Moon People, I got into my head that the stream of consciousness style of writing with very little breaks sounds like it was written by someone hopped up on cocaine. Of course, my first thought went to this scene in Corky Romano. And I believe this is a movie you've told me you saw in the theater.
I did. I think I saw it with Kevin Murphy.
All right. So she submitted a clip, so we can hear that clip.
It's a little loud. The clapping's a little loud. Yes, question. You have a question? You don't have a question? You don't? It's kind of hot in here, isn't it? They're making pants cider now, right? I don't know, because I don't wear jeans. Yes, question. I should buy a boat. Don't you think? No. Question.
So yeah, it's she says, now I can't stop hearing the book as a story being told by a coked up Chris Kattan.
Is there a difference between coked up Chris Kattan and non?
Yeah. I don't think so. But she says it puts a whole new spin on the long paragraphs to think of an attempt to get everything out in one hyper breath. Meanwhile, my husband and I are watching the Contamination riff tracks. That's the one we did recently. I noticed that the Tom Clancy as Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan and Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan guy at the beginning has a baseball hat with 222 on it.
What?
Yeah, so It's going to be we're going to have a Repo Man plate of shrimp effect, I think, with this. People are going to see him everywhere, which means you've been blessed by an angel. So, count your blessings.
An astrological angel, though. Those might be evil. We're not sure. So.
I'm pretty sure the Precious Moments figures are very evil. So this one comes from Michelle. She says, I have been a listener of your podcast since day one, despite the fact I'm a pretty bad reader. Maybe it's an undiagnosed learning disability, or maybe I've developed a short attention span from a childhood of sugar cereal and a dreaded MTV. In any case, I find myself picking up great works of literature, Huck Finn, 100 Years of Solitude, Eye of Argon, Wuthering Heights, and finding my brain slides off the page. At 34, I've made peace with this and try to live my life in relative happiness. This all changed when I heard you discuss the intro and dedication of Moon People. I paused the podcast and immediately dropped $10 on the ebook, finishing it over the course of a few days. I apologize to my wife for reading her passages about Lunar Base 1, 2, and 3 during our Valentine's Day lunch. I've only read 2 other books with such enthusiasm. Alexandros Solzhenitsyn, One Day in the Life of Ivan Desinovich, and Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse 5. Second Vonnegut Slaughterhouse 5 comparison.
You just set yourself up, that reading of...
Yeah, okay.
Solzhenitsyn's A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich.
So, yeah. How do you say it, Mr. Tolstoy translator?
I'm going to put it out there as A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, but
What did I say?
Well, let's go back and check the date. You can
hold my hand to the fire on Ogden, but all right, come on.
I didn't say anything. I just pointed it out. I said, do you want to amend it? You have a chance to if you want.
I'm not going to because I don't know how that is pronounced.
Okay.
My last name has been pronounced in comical ways throughout my entire life.
Sure. Moving on.
So, yeah, he says, Dale M. Courtney has taken his place among the giants of humanist literature. Thanks for both for the work you do. I'm proud to support you on Patreon. Thank you for that. I'm glad we're upping the reading game.
And how romantic, reading that on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
I assume you kissed passionately and then stopped.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if you were reading that at Red Lobster.
Hey, settle down.
The chafing, man.
Ooh, yeah.
Here comes one from Seth. I found another book where a 222 special shows up.
What is going on?
I'm going to read it to you, and then you can see if you can guess where it's from. Karen follows Blade as he travels the streets at night, battling vampires and turning them into ones and zeros so that they can be rendered as unconvincing effects. His duty done, he goes to Denny's and orders their Grand Slam breakfast, where he substitutes blood for the 2 eggs, blood for the 2 pancakes, blood for the 2 strips of crisp bacon, but keeps the hash browns and just has them with ketchup.
Oh, wow. So there was a series of Blade movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one was written up in Mike Nelson's movie Mega Cheese.
Oh.
They attached a screenshot, and he says it's probably not as significant as I think. But
wow.
I told him I would run that by and see if he picked up on it, and I'm proud to report that it appears you did not.
Come on, man. I mean, I've got my brain is stuffed right now with tri-separating moon bases. I can't remember that far back.
So let's have our readers be honest, our listeners be honest with themselves, and which is more worthy of ridicule, not being able to pronounce the name of some Russian guy who lived 100 years ago, or not being able to recognize part of your own book that you spent months of your lives working on.
You're really going to weaponize our delightful listeners out there and turn them all against me for something so small.
All right.
I don't know, Connor.
All right, couple more. This one is from Peter, Patreon supporter. I work for NASA Johnson Space Center in the Flight Operations Directorate. So we have an expert who's about to weigh in. It will surprise exactly no one that there is not a single statement or idea in this book that overlaps with my observations of the agency at which I've worked for the past 15 years. The phrasing in that one is very nice. Not everything is wrong, but he says there are many head scratchers, for instance, interplanetary spacecraft named Lunar Base 1, 2, and 3, WTF, that I wouldn't know where to start. I'm even starting to doubt Mr. Courtney's stated CV. But on the positive side, I'm loving the real or fanfic possibilities. My theory is that this book, or series of books, is either a long con gotcha on behalf of the author, or this is the result of a lost bet with his fishing buddies, or, my favorite theory, Gail Courtney is actually an 11-year-old sci-fi fan, and this is his fantasy projection that we've all got to enjoy. Feeling a big, sexy smile creep across my face, Peter, Patreon subscriber and read-along listener since Bob Honey.
Yeah, well, see, that I go with that theory, except for then you have the disturbing, making love with Cheral all night long.
Uh-huh. But as we said, that's written like the first 13-year-old who's saying that he touched someone's boobs on the outside of his sweater at lunch.
Yeah, I guess if we settled on 13, but even then, some of the prose is like, this is a 13-year-old who has never read a book. So
right, yes, it's until we get an interview. Again, do not harass the author. It'll be hard to know.
He'll use one of those voice synthesizers, so the mystery will remain.
Right, yes. Yeah, but then you'll hear Dale, it's lunchtime. Come get your Lunchables. And I guess that will still leave us ambiguous.
Right. Tomato soup and half a grilled cheese.
All right, I got 2 more. This one's from Heather. I know I already sent a dumb sentence this week, but I had to send this along. This is Heather, who's written in before about her sons who listened to this with her. Although 12-year-old Billy is getting a kick out of Moon People, his little brother Danny, who is 10, can't get enough. He was bummed he had to go to bed early tonight, so I made him feel better by reading him Chapter 11 of Moon People before lights out. Dan can't get over the fact that there are almost no commas in the book, and the sentence structure makes him laugh and laugh and laugh. We have the hard copy, and this is how he describes the front cover art. First, there's the Death Star wearing a tactical visor. Then there's this long thing that looks like a bomb. Then there's this giant guy in the teeny tiny spaceship that's as big as the guy. How did this happen? As a cherry on top, Dan insisted on reading the blurb on the back cover to me, and because he is 10, we are apparently entering the age of aquariums. 372 pages, bringing families together. Oh, wow. It warms the heart, doesn't it? I don't know. Indeed. I don't know how they would have taken Chapter 9, but I mean, maybe they... Right. Maybe Billy's going to want to go to Red Lobster for his 13th birthday or something.
Hey now.
Finally, we have one from Chris, who has reached out to his buddy at a satellite imaging company. So he provided us with some helpful asteroid facts. A 10-mile asteroid is the same size as the one that wiped out the dinosaurs and created the Gulf of Mexico, so it's a pretty big rock and it would wreck global civilization, but it is not a planet killer. I mean, okay, we can quibble about that definition. If it hit the sun, it wouldn't do jack shit besides make a bunch of astronomers happy and look pretty cool for a few weeks. That's good to know. 25,000 miles up is the upper limit of our satellites. So an asteroid that big would mess up the orbit of anything it passed even sort of close to, and I imagine it's pretty crowded up there by 2048. And it seems odd no one is panicking about the imminent collapse of global communications networks and the possible destruction of their stupid orbiting colony ships, which is what they actually should be worried about. So I'm glad we have experts weighing in on this. It's, as opposed to doing their jobs, but I suppose they all have their time to distress back in their rooms once they're done. So I'm glad this is what they choose to distress with.
I wish he'd given us a description of his rig there and what he's sitting at, what his panel looks like.
Yeah, NASA what was NASA guy's name? NASA Peter. Yeah, get some rig descriptions, preferably in the form of one long sentence, please.
Right.
Well, yeah, I think that brings us to the final third of Moon People, which we'll finish for the next time. I believe the Kindle version has some crazy stuff at the end of it, like an author bio that was clearly in the template that he filled in and left a lot of the template there. So if you got the Kindle version, we'll probably discuss that as well.
Yeah, that maybe the one that I have. I just breezed over it when my eye stopped on Cheral. So
yeah, I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm sad to see it come to an end, and at the same time, it also is getting pretty tedious to read. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, Patreon people. Thank you, all the listeners. This has been 372 pages. We'll never get back. I'm Mike Nelson.
I'm Connor Lestuka. See you next time.